In chapter 2, verse 7, we see that the man who was made in God's image was constituted with dust. Do you realize that you were made with dust? No one is an exception. We were not made with gold, diamond, or steel. We all were made with dust. Is dust precious? Will you put a handful of dust into your pocket and keep it? No one would do this. Nevertheless, we were made out of dust. Romans chapter 9 verse 21 reveals that we are clay vessels. Dust and clay are nearly the same. When water is added to dust, the dust becomes clay. According to our material constitution, we are not precious. In chapter 28, the term changes from dust to stone. The stone in this chapter becomes the rest for the man of dust, for the stone now holds the dust. It is quite meaningful that Jacob, a man of dust, rested upon a stone. Consider the picture in chapter 28. Here we see a tired, lonesome, disappointed, dusty man, a man who was not certain of his future. Needing some rest as the sun was going down, he took one of the stones of that place and made it his pillow and lay down in that place to sleep. The way to know the Bible is by the Bible. If we only read Genesis 28, we shall not know what it means. But when we read the whole Bible with the heavenly light, we see the meaning of the stone in this chapter. When Peter first came to the Lord changed his name, saying, "You are Simon the son of John. You shall be called Cephas," which translated means a stone. Approximately 3 years after this, the first meeting with the Lord, Peter, responding to a question asked by the Lord, said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Then the Lord Jesus said to him, "I also say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." The Lord seemed to be saying, "Peter, do you remember that on the first day you came to me, I gave you the name Stone? This should not merely be a name, it must be a fact. Peter, you are a stone. I shall build my church upon this rock." Thus, Matthew chapter 16, verse 18 reveals that the stone is for the building of the church. What is the church? 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 15 says that the church is the house of the living God. Ultimately, in eternity, the house of the living God will be the New Jerusalem. In Revelation 21, we see that the New Jerusalem is not built with clay or dust, but with precious stones. Speaking of the New Jerusalem, Revelation chapter 21 verse 11 says, "Her light was like a most precious stone, as a jasper stone, clear as crystal." This is not my allegorization, it is the divine revelation. We need to look at the Bible with a bird's eye view. In Genesis 1 and 2, we see that although man was made in the image of God, he was constituted with dust. While the image of God is for God's expression, dust certainly is not suitable for the expression of God. Hence, there is the need for transformation. Transformation is not merely a change in form, it is also a change in nature. For the word transformation denotes a metabolic change. We need to have a change in nature that our nature and appearance might no longer be that of dust. In Genesis 2, man is dusty, but in Revelation 21, he is precious stone. In eternity, there will be no need for cleaning. While we are on this dusty earth, we must clean every day. But because there will be no dust in the New Jerusalem, there will be no need to clean it. All the dust will be transformed into precious stones. In Genesis 2, we have a man of clay. And in Genesis 28, we see a man of clay resting upon a stone. The Bible is surely written by God. In no other book do we find a portion such as chapter 28, verse 10 to 22. This passage is short, but is crucial, deep, and meaningful, including the whole Bible in its scope. In verse 11, we see the stone which Jacob used for a pillow. As everyone knows, a pillow is something upon which to rest. In verse 18, this pillow stone becomes a pillar. A pillar is for rest, but a pillar is used for support in a building. In the temple built by Solomon, there were two main pillars. Galatians chapter 2 verse 9 says that James, Peter, and John were pillars in the church. Furthermore, Revelation chapter 3 verse 12 says that the overcomers will be pillars in the temple of God. In Genesis 28, we have the stone, the pillow, and the pillar. But this is not all. Eventually, this pillar becomes better, the house of God. Moreover, in this short portion of the word, we see a ladder set up on the earth, the top of which reached to heaven. It is impossible for any man to have written this record. How could Jacob have dreamed such a dream? According to human history, no one has ever had such a dream. But Jacob saw a ladder on which the angels of God were ascending and descending. This indicates that the angels were already there waiting for the time to ascend. When Jacob saw the ladder in his dream, the angels might have immediately ascended to heaven to report the news that Jacob had come and had seen the ladder. After Jacob had awakened out of his sleep, he realized that this place was not only the house of God, but also the gates of heaven. In addition to all these wonderful items, there is another important item in this chapter, the matter of our living. Many times when we preach the gospel, the sinners ask, if I believe in Jesus, will he take care of my living? Some saints ask a similar question. If I love the Lord and live for him, what will happen to my living? Don't I need to take care of this? We all have this problem of making a living. But in this short record, we see that God takes care of our living. As we shall see, taking care of our living is secondary. In verse 15, the Lord said to Jacob, Behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest. Here the Lord seemed to be saying, Jacob, I will be with you, and I will take care of your living. I will give you bread to eat and raiment to put on. This corresponds to the Lord's word in Matthew chapter 6 verse 33. Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. If we seek his kingdom, God will surely take care of our living. Although God had promised to be with Jacob and to keep him, Jacob still made a deal with him, saying, If God will be with me and will keep me in this way, that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall the Lord be my God. Notice the word then in verse 21. If God would do so many things for Jacob, then Jacob would take him as his God. But if God would not do these things for him, then there would be no deal. Jacob seemed to be saying, If you give me food and clothing and take care of my living, then I will take you as my God. This pillar shall be your house, and will return to you the tenth of what you have given to me. This was a very profitable business arrangement. Jacob was saying, Lord, you must first give to me, and then I'll give to you. If you give me $1, then I will return a dime to you. God says that if we seek his kingdom, then he will give us bread. But we say that God must first give us bread, then we shall seek his kingdom. There is no need for you to make such a deal with the Lord. Simply be a lump of clay and allow the Lord to work on you, and he will add to you everything you need. The word add in Matthew chapter 6 verse 33 implies that something basic has already been given and that other things are simply added to us. As we shall see, God will give us the land, the seed, and the blessing. To all this, he adds food, clothing, and the other things we need for our living.